There are those who claim that God creates evil, and they'll quote a verse in Isaiah and the verse in Proverbs to back up their claims. Proverbs 16 something, I believe. I don't remember where the one in Isaiah is. And there are those who claim the sovereignty of God as somehow allowing or causing sin and death and destruction and all manner of negativity in his sovereignty in order to prove points to us, in order to give us lessons, i.e. to show us his glory, and in contrast to our depravity, and to show us how to have faith, or to show us how much we need him, etc., etc., etc. The arguments go on and on and on. There's an infinite variation on these themes. But I'd like to make a point. 2 points why I don't believe any of it. First one is this. What's our prime directive? Our prime directive as human beings is to love God. Our prime directive is to love God with all of our hearts, minds, soul, strength, all of it, right? And our second prime directive number 2, is to love people as we love ourselves. On these 2 commandments hang the entire law and prophets, said Jesus, says Paul, says other writers in the New Testament, right? So basically, if we get love, we get it all. And primarily love with Jesus. Love with the Father, Papa, Creator, Yahweh. Love with the Holy Spirit, right? Since these 2 things are our prime directives, and even more specifically, since that one thing, love with him, is our prime directive, how can you have love with a deity who would do those things? I.e., love can only exist where trust is, right? Now, I mean a reciprocal love relationship. Yes, you can love people that you don't trust. What I'm saying is that a give and take reciprocal love relationship like we are called to have with our Creator can only happen what? When you trust him, right? I'm not saying he has to trust us. What I'm saying is that us, as the trusters, have to be able to trust him, or else what? Love doesn't happen, right? This is the key critical crux of the issue that I keep coming back to as people tell me when I raise questions. They say things like, oh, Jesse, you just have to understand that God is way bigger than we are. Yes, that doesn't eliminate the fact that I still need to trust him, and I speak specifically in regard to many questions that I have about him and about the Bible and about Christian theology and doctrine and the life, the world, and everything, right? So I'm speaking in that context. I need to have those things worked out. Why? So that I can trust him. Why? So that I can love him. So I don't believe all those people who say, well, God is just far beyond us, and that's why he allows suffering, or even created suffering, or allows evil, or even created evil, or in his sovereignty somehow creates vessels of destruction. All these things, that people will claim. And I know it's in the Bible. I know it's there. I'm not afraid to address that. Still, the issue is, it doesn't matter if it's in the Bible or not. The issue always comes down to, for me, and if we have to question the Bible to do it, then we have to question the Bible to do it. Oh no, heresy, Jesse. Well, still, it comes down to this. I need to be able to trust. If I can't trust my Creator, there's not going to be much love there. So I have to question these things. I have to have these questions answered. Point number one. Point number two, this is the kicker. Ephesians 5:1. Be imitators of God. Okay, if all that stuff is true, are we then to imitate him? I think not. Would you do any of this stuff to your kids? I think not. Would God kick your ass if you did? I think so. Right? And what's our one of other God's main goals for us? To be conformed to the image of Christ, right? Romans 8, right? So, if we know that we are to be conformed to the image of Christ, rather if we know that God is conforming us to the image of Christ, and God created the world through Christ, as it says in Colossians, then, and if Christ himself then created evil, or allowed, somehow in his sovereignty willed it to be so, right? Or to put it more clearly, I guess it was a part of his plan, like the sovereignty people will say. Right? All this sin and evil and crap is part of his plan to teach us an infinite number of lessons that they'll go on about, right? And I know there's brilliant, smart thinkers from the past centuries, 1800s and 1700s, and God only knows when, but they come up with all this stuff and they've written all these books about it, all this sovereignty of God. I don't believe it. Sorry, I'm not going to be conformed to that image. An image that would somehow will evil and bad and death and destruction and sin. I'm not going to be conformed to that image because that is not the image of the Christ that I know.